The pandemic and the resulting economic impact on utilities continues to evolve. The required health safety measures impacted on revenue streams, and low-income subscribers are having difficulty meeting financial commitments. Both are affecting the development plans of the ministry responsible for delivering these services to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So let's see how this ministry fared.
I am Marvin Gonzalez, the Minister of Public Utilities. There can be no question that the past year, like the year before, was a challenging one for us in Trinidad and Tobago and for the global community. But we in the public utility sector refuse to be daunted from our task of transforming the sector into a more agile and sustainable one that provides reliable, effective services to the entire population. That trust requires the improvement in some areas and overall in others. We have set out, for example, to transform the Water and Sewerage Authority based on the findings and recommendations of a cabinet-appointed subcommittee. But even as that exercise is in train, we are implementing short and medium-term programs that will improve the water situation in communities across Trinidad and Tobago. One of those programs, the Community Water Improvement Project, CWIP, has already been successfully implemented in 14 communities, providing over 65,000 persons with an improved and reliable water supply. Some of those beneficiaries haven't received water through their taps in 20 years, while others now have an increased and an improved supply. The National Mail Carrier TT Post is also undergoing transformation to increase its revenue stream, promote sustainability, and expand its suite of services to the general public. Over the past year, it has launched new e-commerce digital services and added more government services to its portfolio, thus providing customers with more options for buying, selling, and accessing government services. The national rollout of the Universal Postal Union's S42 addressing standard and postal code system, which was also completed this year, sets the foundation for the expansion into digital markets. Of course, the protection of our environment is also a priority. Climate change and the staggering loss of biodiversity are pressing concerns around the world. And so, in keeping with our commitment to lower our greenhouse gas emissions, we are exploring and implementing ways to conserve energy and to use it more efficiently. The Trinidad and Tobago Electricity Commission is instrumental in its thrust towards a more sustainable energy sector. As we speak, plans are underway for the construction of 2 solar farm projects with a combined output of 112 megawatts, which would be owned and operated by Lightsource BP. The Trinidad and Tobago Solid Waste Management Company, SWIMCOL, is also playing its part in ensuring a sustainable future for us all. The company recently signed a memorandum of understanding with the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago to facilitate the exploration of opportunities for capturing and utilizing methane gas from the Forest Park landfill. Once completed, this initiative will allow us to turn this greenhouse gas into an economic and clean energy resource. We look forward to continuing with that mandate in the year ahead, and we wish you a Merry Christmas and a 2022 full of new and fulfilling possibilities.
This ministry has been a source of great support. Gender equality and children's well-being are always priorities, even as COVID continues to affect lives and livelihoods around the world, and the economic fallout is having a negative impact on gender equality and children's welfare. Children are having increased challenges with the disruption of routine and normalcy, and lives are being changed in profound ways, and the effects are unequally distributed. So let's hear about how the work continues to get done in this environment and with those challenges in mind.
I am Ayana Webster-Roy, Minister with responsibility for Gender and Child Affairs, the National AIDS Coordinating Committee, and Central Administrative Services, Tobago. Despite all of the challenges we faced as a nation over the last few months, the desire to ensure the protection and care and well-being of all never wavered. At the Child Affairs Division, we were very fortunate to work with international partners, the local community, children and adults, and develop a national child policy. Our child policy is the first of its kind in the Eastern Caribbean. Additionally, we also work with various stakeholders and develop a quick course on child abuse. That quick course was able to reach over 9,000 Trimbagonians. From feedback, we recognized that a lot of persons learned about child rights, child abuse, things they didn't know about before, but most importantly, it created an awareness that would have helped them to become advocates for children. Our Child Rights Ambassador program is something I'm extremely passionate about. Through our Child Rights Ambassador program, we would have engaged children to become their own champions of their rights. They would have then used the skills, the technique, the information, the knowledge gained to go out into their communities to empower fellow Trimbagonians so that they understand that children indeed have rights, rights that must be respected, protected, and promoted. Through the work of our Child Rights Ambassadors, over 100,000 Trimbagonians would have been impacted. The Children's Authority. Most times when people hear about the Children's Authority in the media, people often criticize. But at the end of the day, the authority is staffed by passionate Trimbagonians working day and night to ensure children who are in vulnerable situations are protected and given the opportunity for rehabilitation. Through the Children's Authority, we have a foster care and adoption program. Through the Children's Authority, we provide 24/7 access to guidance and emergency response through the emergency response team. The Children's Authority is working with various communities throughout Trinidad and Tobago so that people would understand how important it is to protect the nation's children. After all, our children are our most valued asset. At Gender Affairs Division, we would have established the first of its kind in our nation's history, state-run domestic violence shelters. Over 90 women with their children were able to access a safe haven through our shelters. Not only did they access a safe haven, they also received the psychosocial support needed to help them to recover and emerge better from their domestic violence situation. At the Gender Affairs Division, we have also worked to improve our central registry on domestic violence, ensuring that we pull data and information from all sectors so that when we roll out our programs or projects to impact the lives of those persons who face domestic violence, that we get the information required to shape the policy most appropriately so that persons benefit. But we are looking to the future, and in looking to the future, we recognize that men too are victims of domestic violence, and we are working to establish a male center for those men who fall victim to domestic violence. At Gender and Child Affairs, one of the messages that we try to promote constantly is how important it is for all of Trinidad and Tobago to develop a zero tolerance attitude towards violence. We have been trying to promote this message through putting information out into the media and into our communities. Just recently, we would have partnered with TT Post to distribute hundreds of thousands of pieces of information to homes on child abuse, child rights. We are also going to partner with TT Post to provide information to our homes for domestic violence situations so persons know who to contact, what help is available. Also, we partner with NALIS, ensuring that all information on child rights, domestic violence, child abuse gets out into our communities using the library system. But another part of my portfolio that many persons don't remember is Central Administrative Services Tobago. And of course, I must mention it. After all, I am a Tobago girl. At Central Administrative Services in Tobago, we would have probably worked along with our Meteorological Services Division to improve the meteorological services on the island of Tobago. We acquired new radar systems as well as other new technology to help us in nowcasting, as well as improving forecasting information for farmers. After all, we know how important food security is, especially as we work towards building back better post-COVID-19. As we look to the future, we anticipate that with the new technology and the new radar systems in operation on the island, we would be able to ensure that our weather forecasting systems are on par with the rest of the world. It has been a challenging time. However, those of us at Gender and Child Affairs, the National AIDS Coordinating Committee, and Central Administrative Services Tobago want to reassure you, the citizens of the beautiful Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, that we are indeed a resilient people. Don't doubt for one moment our commitment to serving you, to ensuring your safety and well-being. Don't doubt for one moment your government's commitment to ensuring a better, brighter Trinidad and Tobago for all of us. As we look towards building back better, remember, a positive mindset, a change in attitude is what is required for Trinidad and Tobago to achieve its fullest potential.
The business environment has changed for many organizations around the world, and the response to the coronavirus has created urgent situations requiring immediate attention, reactions, and adaptation to an uncertain environment. How have we responded to the supply chain and market disruptions? Our Minister of Trade and Industry updates us on their achievements and plans for a changing global environment.
I am Paula Gopi-Schoon, the Minister of Trade and Industry. At the beginning of 2021, we saw ourselves in a position where the COVID-19 pandemic presented much uncertainty. As a government, our objective was to strike the balance between lives and livelihoods while ensuring business continuity within the parameters of the public health regulations. As a critical driver of economic activity, we at the Ministry of Trade and Industry saw it necessary to work closely with our key stakeholders to achieve our mandate of creating an enabling environment that facilitates business, investment, and trade despite the odds presented by the global pandemic. Despite all, I am pleased by the resilience and performance shown by the manufacturing sector, with non-energy exports valuing approximately 12 billion TT dollars from January to November 2021. And this increased export activity must be commended, as it represents an increase of 33% from the same period in 2020 and bringing us in line and even improving on our pre-pandemic activity. During 2021, the Ministry of Trade and Industry continued to place priority on expanding and deepening trade with targeted countries and markets of interest through maximizing existing trade agreements, pursuing new agreements, and conducting trade missions. Success of our efforts was evident by large, medium, and small firms participating in several trade missions, which resulted in a wide range of non-energy products being exported to both existing and new markets, including the United States, Puerto Rico, Canada, Cyprus, and St. Martin. While we are pleased for this increased market penetration, we appreciate that business, in particular the small and medium enterprises, must become more globally competitive and increase their export potential. In this regard, we remain focused on building the capacity of these firms through a number of targeted initiatives, such as the Export Booster Initiative and the Sheet Trades Hub. The EBI, a flagship program of the MTI, was launched in the first quarter of 2021 and is focused on export promotion, capacity building, and institutional strengthening. Through this program, there are a number of noteworthy initiatives. However, 2021 focused on the International Certification Fund, which assists exporters in achieving international certification in food and beverage and other product compliance to meet the quality and safety standards of international markets and franchises, enabling the capacity to export to new markets. Thus far, we have had 6 successful applications from firms in agro-processing, food and beverage, engineering and industrial subsectors. Another capacity building program which is dear to me is the local She Trades Hub, which has been able to attract 474 female entrepreneurs, surpassing our initial target of 125. This platform provides support to female entrepreneurs through access to capacity building training, expert advice, mentoring and export opportunities, and enabling them to trade and engage with 3 million entrepreneurs worldwide. On the investment side, I am pleased to report that in 2021, close to $500 million TT in investments in the non-energy sector were completed and operationalized. These projects will create over 1,000 new jobs across the manufacturing, business process outsourcing, and agro-processing sectors in both new and expanded activities. We have also acquired several new tenants at the Phoenix Park Industrial Estate, Factory Road Industrial Park, Marugo Agro-Processing and Light Industrial Park, and the Tamina Intech Park. To support the targeted growth of private sector enterprises in the non-energy sector, the Ministry continues to support businesses through a suite of incentives, such as a grant fund facility for the purchase of machinery and equipment, and this year 13 companies have benefited in the areas of food and agro-processing, printing and packaging, textiles and garment manufacturing, beauty and personal care, software design and financial service, and also the steel pan manufacturing grant facility with 8 beneficiaries, the research and development facility facilitating new and innovative products. 3 companies benefited in the areas of agro-processing, food and beverage manufacturing, and ICT. To create an enabling environment, doing business must be made easier. And in this regard, a number of strides continue to be made through digital transformation. Advancements in 2021 include online payments for border agencies such as the Trinidad and Tobago Bureau of Standards and Export TT, along with the enhancement of the TT BizLink application software. Additionally, 45 business process re-engineering recommendations which target the simplification and modernization of key business processes were approved by Cabinet, and 9 are currently being implemented by the respective border agencies. One of the major achievements of the Ministry has been the introduction of the Special Economic Zones Bill to Parliament to replace the existing Free Zones Act of 1988, which was considered harmful under Global Forum and simply did not meet our international tax obligations. There are numerous benefits to be derived from this regime, inclusive of attracting foreign direct investment and local investment in strategic sectors, stimulating new domestic investment, increasing private sector participation, PPPs, diversifying economic activity, increasing foreign exchange supply, expanding non-energy export base, encouraging technology transfer and innovation. Let me take this opportunity to wish the population, and in particular the business community, a successful 2022. As we progress as a nation, we look forward to the equitable participation of all in the growth and development of our economy and our country. Season's greetings.
Here's a ministry that has been propelled to the front line, guided by the National Development Policy of putting people first. The response to the significant and sudden increase in families needing support had to be delivered in the context of the economic fallout and unusual conditions.
It has been my privilege to serve as the Minister of Social Development and Family Services since August 2020. As the line minister charged with the mandate and responsibility for positively transforming lives, my focus has been on taking care of the most vulnerable groups in our society, such as the poor and indigent, elderly, and persons with disabilities. Our roadmap to recovery involves transitioning such persons through our welfare system and encouraging them to step up. In other words, positioning themselves towards a more independent and enhanced quality of life. To this end, we have been improving our service delivery system through the application of technological and one-stop shop initiatives, identifying the vulnerable among us and recognizing their needs and wants through the establishment of a national register for vulnerable persons. We have been removing elements of duplication, wastage, and fraud that may corrupt the system and cause misuse of much-needed public funds. During the past year, the Ministry has realized several key achievements, including the advancement of the government's digitalization agenda, which is a major strategy to enhance access and create a faster processing time in the delivery of social grants and services. Our website has been recommissioned to include persons with disabilities, and we have now undertaken to implement an integrated information services management system, a solution aimed at a one-stop shop facility for clients within the social sector who are seeking relief from the challenges presented by the economic downturn. We have also collaborated with iGovTT to establish an online application system for the senior citizens' pension. In addition to this, we continue to make it easier for older persons as well as persons with disabilities to access our services. In this regard, several of our seniors as well as children and adults with disabilities are now able to receive their funds safely and conveniently through a direct deposit system. In order to engender healthy, functioning families, the Ministry, for the first time in history, implemented a Grandparents Raising Grandchildren program to provide counseling and other support to grandparents who now have a critical role to play within their families and to the stability of the wider society. This is in addition to the existing parenting program, which targets young families and single parents. Another one of our new initiatives is that we have embraced widows under the umbrella of vulnerable citizens. Given the COVID pandemic and the impact on families who have experienced the sudden passing of loved ones, who are often the main breadwinners, including widows in the group of vulnerable citizens, will alleviate some of the hardships they face. Several of our achievements in support of the vulnerable have been realized through collaboration with key stakeholder ministries, agencies, private sector entities, and civil society organizations, so that the Ministry's outreach to the vulnerable is complemented and enhanced by community-based, on-the-ground initiatives. For example, several families who were quarantined benefited from the Ministry's partnership with the regional corporations and regional health authorities to get food and other vital supplies to them, so that they may not have to leave their homes while in quarantine. The Ministry was also instrumental in providing necessary social relief in the form of grants, counseling, and psychosocial support for persons who experience job losses and reduced income as a result of the COVID-19 stay-at-home measures. In Phase 1, the government spent $347 million, and about 178,000 individuals and families who required food, rental, and income support benefited from this initiative. Additionally, the Ministry upgraded its call center services for greater effectiveness. Additional lines were added and services extended beyond their regular working hours of 8 to 4. The recently launched Citizen Engagement and Outreach Service at all of our 11 local district offices will also build and sustain more positive working relationships between the public and the Ministry, as more attention is placed on customer service and a multifaceted and more responsive social services delivery engagement. The Ministry also embarked upon several legislative and policy reviews in its thrust to deliver more efficient and effective services. And these include the Senior Citizens Pension, the policy for the Special Achievers Grant, which offers support to our national achievers who are now vulnerable, and the Social Displacement Act, which will remove some of the legal barriers to adequately provide services for the socially displaced. Also on the agenda are legislation aimed at persons with disabilities, the National Family Policy, the National Parenting Policy, and the National Policy on Aging. Looking forward to 2022, we expect to advance the program that we started in 2021 and introduce new ones to better serve our clients. Our clients can look forward to the implementation of new initiatives such as the revised Centenarian program due to start in January, which will recognize and honor our citizens who attain the milestone of 100 years. The year 2022 will also see new facilities and programs established for socially displaced persons, including assessment centers, transitional and emergency housing. And our investigation and compliance unit will begin operations, focusing on preventing the leakage of resources that may be caused by duplication and fraudulent activities. Our aim is to establish and maintain more efficient and transparent operations of which we can all be proud. Also to come on stream early in 2022 is the Ministry's Suicide Prevention Hotline, a free, dedicated and confidential service. And this will offer preventive and rehabilitative psychosocial support to persons who find themselves overwhelmed by their circumstances. Some may be having difficulty coping with the many challenges posed by COVID-19 pandemic. And these are just a few of the new strategies that you can expect to see in the coming year. I wish to thank the executive and staff of the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services for diligently working together to help, empower, and transform the lives of this country's most vulnerable persons. I also take this opportunity to extend blessings and best wishes to all individuals and families for the new year. Be blessed and stay safe.
COVID-19 has spurred changes in the justice system that will have a lasting impact well beyond the pandemic. And access to justice has changed in various ways. The AG's office have found smart new approaches to overcoming these challenges while preserving the individual rights of citizens. So let's hear now from our Attorney General.
I am Faris Al-Rawi, Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, and the very proud representative for the people of San Fernando West. As we approach the year end, it gives me great pleasure to recap 2021 from the Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs perspective. It's important to bear in mind that even though the COVID pandemic gripped this nation, the government still had to continue its operations. At the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Legal Affairs, this meant having to manage all of the litigation for Trinidad and Tobago, all of the legislation for Trinidad and Tobago, all of the transactional work for Trinidad and Tobago, all of the record keeping at the Ministry of Legal Affairs for Trinidad and Tobago, and then to ensure that service was delivered. The laws that have made significant impact can perhaps be divided into the COVID laws, to the laws to protect our people and most vulnerable, and the laws that treated with crime in a particular way. Last package in that would be our international obligations, and let's weave them all together. As we talk about protecting our vulnerable, and in particular our women in our society, the Office of the Attorney General has been extremely pleased to have birthed the amendments to the law that dealt with sexual offenses as we brought to life the Sexual Offences Register. We're very pleased as well to have done the amendments to the Interception of Communication Act. This Interception of Communication Act was to preserve vulnerable witnesses, capture evidence which could be used in a court of law, protect the identity of witnesses, and very importantly, to open the door to intercepting communications inside of the prisons. Why would you want to capture evidence from inside of the prisons? Because criminality functions in our prisons. And whether it is to protect the lives of prisons officers or the vulnerable people and witnesses in a rape matter or a matter concerning a sexual offense, we have now introduced a system where prison cells are not off limits, where the evidence inside of a prison cell can be taken and used in a court of law. The domestic violence amendments came to life in 2021, and this allowed for a new system. Somebody who is the victim of domestic violence to have the ability to walk into a police station and to obtain protection from the very police station that you've walked into, whether it's at midnight at night, in approaching a magistrate from a laptop inside of a police station, or whether it is taking it to court the next day. We're very pleased as well to have drafted the sexual harassment law, which should come to Parliament very importantly and very strategically now that we have finished the consultation process in respect of that. We're very pleased as well to have passed the laws in relation to the Evidence Act. And what we have managed to do in treating with evidence is to introduce a new qualification. That is where CCTV evidence can be used in a court of law as opposed to a live witness. Let's turn our attention to witness anonymity. What does that mean? The ability of a witness to give evidence in a court of law without necessarily, in very careful arrangements, being identified to defense counsel. We're very pleased to have drafted the witness anonymity provisions, and that particular law, drafted this year, will find its way to Parliament shortly. Let's go a little bit further into looking at the arrangements as we deal with our hard crimes. We're pleased to have both the Anti-Gang Act to bring it back into life in Trinidad and Tobago. We're pleased to have also brought to life the amendments to the Police Complaints Authority, the amendments to the Coroners Act. The amendments to these laws allow for the police and law enforcement in Trinidad and Tobago to also be held to a higher standard, as they must. Let's deal, ladies and gentlemen, with COVID. In COVID, we've had to deal with all of the laws to treat with state of emergency, to treat with the public health regulations, laws to create safe zones, laws to allow for vaccination. The Attorney General's office has been very pleased to do all of that. On our transactional side, we have been able to do all of the loan financing, all of the agreements to bring the Pfizer vaccine, to bring the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, to bring AstraZeneca, to bring Sinopharm. None of these things happen without the legal framework behind it. At the land registry, as we follow the money, as we make ease of doing business easier, at the company's registry, at the registry for births and deaths, we can now facilitate transactions by electronic payments, similar to what we've done in the courts. As we deal with our land and record-keeping registers, the PBRS system, which is the system by which we register our land transactions, that has been implemented. It's because of the amendments to witness evidence in virtual courts that the Sean Luke trial became a reality. That a judge-only trial in 2021 saw a case that was 15 years in the waiting, dealt with by a single judge, where witnesses gave evidence from the United States of America at a truck pit stop on a phone, allowing for a conviction to be given. It's because of judge-only trials and virtual evidence that a trial 18 years in the making was dealt with in 20 minutes flat. At the AG's office this year, we saw the burgeoning and birth of the public defender system, so that people who are in jail, people who are in remand, people who are awaiting trial can have competent counsel put to them. And of the 1,160 people on remand awaiting a trial for murder, more than half of them are now represented by our public defenders who attend upon them on a computer screen. Trinidad and Tobago, faster trials, targeted justice, protection of women, easier evidence, protection of witnesses. All of this makes it a better environment for us all, be it pepper spray, be it the implementation of safe zones. This is how we advance our country. We are committed to the job of making Trinidad and Tobago better. And I say thank you to the Honorable Prime Minister for allowing me to conduct this portfolio. May God bless our beautiful nation, and wishing us all bright and prosperous new year ahead, I say God's blessings to the good people of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you.